I want to follow up on the call stuff because I love the comment on waltzing in. It's so easy as a salesperson to be because we're trained on price. So it's kind of a negotiation and it's kind of this, it's kind of that. It's so easy for like price and value to get top of mind. I've recently been training a new account executive at PR. James is doing a great job. And I've had to take time to reflect on my sales process so I can put down the structure I follow to a call. So I want to run an idea by you that I was kind of coaching James on and get your feedback because it sounds like we're doing some similar things. And I think the conversation might add a little bit of clarity for anybody who's listening. I think if I lead off a conversation, because we're having similar conversations, you're in marketing, I'm in sales development, we're both in the business of helping companies find new customers. When somebody comes to me, especially from an inbound perspective, there's generally a gap that they're trying to fill. And if I go right and jump at, okay, so what's the gap? Like, what are the issues? What's the pain? They're typically a little bit hesitant because I haven't really built much of a relationship. They might know us, they might have been, know the brand, they might have listened to the podcast, and that's certainly helpful. But if I jump right to like, okay, what's the pain? Then I've found people can be a bit gun shy. And so where I typically start the conversation is how do they hear about us? That's a very easy question to answer. You're not guarded about any of that. It's like, oh, I read the book. I saw you, I found you on LinkedIn, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
And then I go a direction where I'll a little bit more, something everybody's proud to talk about is their ugly baby or their product and the service and the company that they have. And so I'll get them to talk about the product. And that's a natural transition from there into, okay, so I see what kind of customers I see what your product does, who are the customers you serve. So it's a little bit more guarded and they'll sometimes start talking about their best customers. And then I can kind of transition into, okay, so tell me about the number of customers you're trying to reach. And now I can get into the sales numbers. And if I go this approach, then it's like one step of like more personal information every time. Right? If I were to start with like, tell me who your best customers are, it's a little bit jarring. But if I warm up and say, hey, so how'd you hear about us? Oh, cool. I'm Canadian, you're American. Oh, cool. That's interesting. Flamingos. Oh, neat. Then it kind of warms the conversation up. Do you follow a similar cadence, or it sounds like you almost maybe do the opposite? You jump right in.
It really depends. Again, like knowing that if you have a good idea of their profile. For instance, if I'm talking to a socializer or an influencer type, I know that they're going to likely be more relational and conversational. Whereas if I've got a driver personality where a lot of business owners are going to fit that, and I find early on the call, they're like a type A driver, I am going to go straight into business because I just, it's kind of like one of the test things, and I've seen my business partner do this. My business partner likes to point out things in the background, which before you could blur your camera, those are, what's that fuzzy thing on the shelf back there? Oh, it's not a shelf actually. But anyway, he'll say, wow, that's a cool phonograph. Like, what's up with that? And if you get a response that, they turn around and they go, oh, let me tell you, like, there's a great story behind that. And they start into that. It tells you a lot about the individual you're talking about. But if they go, oh yeah, that's like my granddad. So anyway, the reason I reached out to you. So and where a mistake I see a lot of rookie salespeople make is that they're like, oh, well, that's cool. Like, where did your grandfather get that? They don't connect with what's happening there, and you can lose, and really what's happening in that mature business owner's mind typically is, geez, I got a total rookie here. That's what they're going to think about you. So I think it depends on the situation. I do the how did you hear about us, even if I know and it's clearly written down. I ask that because, again, that gives them a chance to tell us, and it reminds them also of how they were impressed maybe by a podcast that my business partner hosts, or a resource, or Ezra Firestone, who's one of our clients and friends for a long time, and a lot of people follow him in the space. So those can be times to even help them remember why they reached out in the first place, especially if a week or two has gone by since they actually reached out to you. And then I just really take the temperature of the call. You got to move in when it's time to get down to business. And if you detect body language or anything, then even if one of your team members on the call is still going into their story, you got to jump in, cut them off, and get right to work.